All right, everybody. Thank you for being here, for joining us today. Welcome to Talk Away the Dark, a musical conversation with Jacoby Shaddix of Papa Roach, legendary band. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. It's toward the end of it in May. Of course, mental health and suicide prevention are always really important. Before we get started, I'm going to give a quick intro about the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, where I'm the Director of Writing and Entertainment Outreach. My name is Wean. If you're not familiar, we began as a research-oriented organization when a small number of families who had been impacted by suicide met up with a bunch of scientific researchers who wanted to learn more. We're now the largest private funder of suicide prevention research. We have loss and healing services for people who have lost someone to suicide. We have education programs you can bring to your community. We have an advocacy public policy office, and there are ways that you can get involved as volunteer advocates. And we have chapters in every state and Puerto Rico. We're all over the place. You can go to afsp.org, quickly look up what your local chapter is, get involved. It's a community of people who just get it. That's how I always put it. Now, I could go on and on about our guest today, Jacoby Shaddix, the lead singer of the iconic rock band Papa Roach, who AFSP has honored with the Public Education Lifesaver Award this year at our 2024 Lifesavers Gala. And so I will go on and on about him for just a minute because there's a lot to say and I want to tell you about him. Papa Roach are two-time Grammy-nominated, multi-platinum selling leaders in the world of alternative hard rock music, who in 2020 celebrated the 20th anniversary of their breakthrough album Infest, which I remember fondly myself as a 90s college person. The band is a globally recognized heavyweight of the genre, creating 10 studio albums, including their most recent Ego Trip, which has garnered nearly 400 million global streams to date and has produced 4 number-one singles, bringing the band's total to 26 career top 10 hits and 12 career number ones. Could those numbers possibly be right? They are. They've long called attention to mental health and suicide prevention through their lyrics and outreach to fans since their mega hit song, Last Resort. Their most recent contribution to mental health advocacy is the current single, Leave a Light On, which encourages listeners to reach out to their friends who may be struggling, and which they renamed Leave a Light On, Talk Away the Dark, after AFSP's Talk Away the Dark campaign. We worked with Papa Roach and Jacoby and the whole team to create this beautiful onstage moment during their last tour before that song is performed, where they talked about looking out for your friends and the Talk Away the Dark campaign. And it went over so well. The song was released as a new single with a music video that captures that moment. We're going to share that in a little bit. And the song then spent number one for 3 consecutive weeks on the mainstream rock charts, which is incredible. And royalties for the song, as well as a live version of their song Scars featuring Chris Daughtry, have been donated to AFSP in perpetuity, in addition to the band's initial donation of over $150,000 in the name of fans in cities across the United States. So I have rambled on enough, and I'd like you all to welcome Jacoby Shaddix. Hey, Jacoby.
Hey, what's up, Brett? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, man, what an intro. Honestly, it's like, it trips me out when I hear those stats kind of getting spit back at me, especially with the newer music. It really blows me away that our music, after this many years, is still connecting with people in an authentic way, in a way that's meaningful, purpose-driven. And, I think as I reflect on that as well, like I think about, it makes me really grateful for, I guess, my relationship and the way that it has evolved with music through the years, and how I really understand now, like, the true power of music, the healing power of music. And I want to honor that, and I'm stoked to be using it positively in culture, with our partnership with you guys, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And it's, my mom said to me way back in the day, she always said this when I was young. She's like, you got to leave the world better than you found it. And it's a tall order, you know, and as I grow and mature as a man, that's like, that's the mark, you know, that I'm trying to hit. And fortunately, you know, I got this music to be able to be a vehicle to connect with people through.
Well, I think that must come through. You're successful with that, I would think, because it's so authentic. I mean, it's not like, I don't think it's like you set out to be like, I'm going to write songs about mental health.
Yeah.
It's just a theme that has come through. And in the same way that you've been more focused on the music itself rather than the business of it, to suddenly kind of take a step back and look and see at what you've accomplished in terms of all those sort of statistics that I read earlier, and to see the kind of response your music is getting, in particular in relation to those mental health themes, must be, I would think that must be emotional for you, and something that you know, when you can take a step back, it must be something that hits you with a wallop.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, just to take it back to the beginning, right? It's like, you know, on our first single, breakout single, Last Resort, is a cry for help, you know. And it's almost weird because like Last Resort is a cry for help and Leave a Light On is like the answer. It's like answering back. It's like, hey, I'm here for you. I'll walk this out with you. I will walk this, you know, walk this life out with you, and we can walk through these issues. And I mean, hate to say the pun, right? But talk away the dark. And, you know, early on for me as a writer, I didn't intentionally step into the space of music to go, oh, I'm here to really like dig deep and like heal some wounds of my own through music. It was kind of a natural thing I fell into because when we first started, it was just like, I want to get loud, get on the mic and get rowdy and just sweat in the mosh pit with the homies, right? And we did that for a few years. And as we kept writing songs, I think I was maturing as a person. And as a young, you know, early 20-year-old, I started to really look back at my childhood and my younger years and try to take these issues that I had in my life and make sense of them, right? And this music was the vehicle to do that. And this was around like this was in the late 90s. And so I really started digging deep, wrote a song called Broken Home, talking about my youth and really opening up about how that it affected me, you know, and it was therapeutic for me. And I didn't realize it. It was just like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I got to write about. I have something in me that's like, it's like a floodgate is opening. And I'm grateful I did that. You know, my mom encouraged me through the years. She always wanted me to go to therapy. She thought it would be great for me to go to therapy. And I was the kid. I was like, there's no way I'm going to therapy. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to, I don't, no way. And I refused it my whole childhood. And fast forward to my adult life, you know, and things really got out of hand and I was struggling really heavily. And therapy was something that was like, it was something that helped save me. You know, it's just like I was willing to like, I had to wait till I was in enough pain personally to realize I needed help, you know, and it was a long process for me to get to that space, you know, and sometimes I look back and man, maybe I wish I would have taken that advice younger, but you know, I had the world figured out when I was, you know, 17 when I moved out of my house, you know, but it's been an interesting story, man. And you know, people ask me if I could go change things about it. And I'm like, it's all those struggles that I walked through and grew from were the things that are now my strengths. You know, these things that I've taken that I felt so broken, you know, for instance, my family falling apart as a young kid, like that was something that I put into a song and then met thousands of people that were like, man, that's my story. That's my life. And I'm like, all right, I'm not alone, you know? And I think that in this struggle through life, sometimes it's like just that feeling of that lonely feeling of like, I'm the only one in this situation, or that isolated feeling. It's like, that's a messed up place to be, you know? And I think music has continually been one of those things that's given me an opportunity to find a way to express myself.
It's real. I mean, I love the way you've expressed yourself with that today. And it is so interesting the way there's sort of bookends those two songs, because Last Resort, I think, which so many people, when you think of Papa Roach, like it's such a kick-ass rock song, just the
The
music
Ripper,
itself.
man. Yeah.
And like you were putting it, when you're like in the garage, like starting out as a kid with music, art is not always about setting up a question and having an answer. Sometimes it's just about asking the question, and
Absolutely.
that question resonates for people if it's authentic, which it was. And because that song is like an expression of pain, and it feels so real. And to hear you talk about how you did songs like that at first, and it just kind of came out without even maybe thinking about it. It was just you in front of the mic. But now to have had those experiences in your life of, now that you talk about it, going to therapy and realizing that was helpful, and working things out on a continuous way through the music as well. And then you end up having this song, Leave a Light On, Talk Away the Dark, which is, I think the way you were putting it, as an answer almost, where
Absolutely.
you've been on this journey through your creative output and your music, where you've kind of realized, maybe the word answer is too pat, but or maybe not, but it's like you have worked something out clearly.
Yeah. I think, as we grow and mature with our music, I think a big part of it is me becoming a father. I've got older sons now that are away in college. And as we're going in and we're getting right in music and creating, how do I make music that really reflects who I am, that's still rock and roll, that still feels, authentic? And it's always that process of breaking down the walls, when we get into the room and create music together. And when we were writing this track, I wrote this with my band and my friend Nick Furlong, and the topic of suicide had come up in the room, and all of us have somebody close to us that has died by suicide, or one of our friends has died by suicide. Everybody in that room. And so we're like, we need to put something out there that's like a message of hope, man. I just feel like it's like a lot of the times in this music, we talk about the darkness, but where's the solution? Like, where is the, and in my life, I've had my brushes with that darkness. I'd say 13 years ago, I was in a really, really dark place, substance abuse, depression, anxiety. And I came to a rock bottom in my life where I was at that point. And thank God I didn't make a permanent decision to a temporary problem. But I was knocking on the door. And thank God I had people around me that loved me and cared for me and walked through that with me, and I think that was really when I understood the true power of the music, is when I walked through those feelings myself. And it's a lonely, desperate place to be, right? And so I think being there makes me understand, having been there in my life, nowhere near that right now in my life. Just thank God. We wanted to make a piece of art that would speak to people in their darkest hour, really. Like, it's just like a hand reaching into the darkness. And so as my sons are packing away to move away to college and live that life and join it, be part of the world, I wanted to leave them with something, give them like this message. Like, I could say it to them a million times in the room, right? Son, I got your back no matter what. When things get tough, like, I'm here for you. I'm going to walk this out with you no matter what. I've got friends that I've done that with in my life. And it's been healing for me, watching the lights come on in somebody else. And that's a beautiful thing. But, as my boys are entering into the world, I just needed to send them off with this message like, hey, no matter what, no matter what's going on in your life, I got you. I'm here for you. No matter how far away you get or how messed up you think you are, like, never be afraid to come back and like, let's talk through this stuff. And it's going to start with a hug, and then we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of it, you know. And I think putting that message out there in the music is powerful because we've seen the people come to our shows and talk about their brokenness, and the message boards as well. We see, you know, when we're being vulnerable on those message boards, people are opening up about what they're walking through. And I think that creating a safe space through music that allows that, and even if it's just like a mustard seed that gets planted into somebody at a show, right? Because we had a PSA at our show going, hey, listen, if you're struggling, dial 988. Like, there's help, people. There's help out there. Meeting people that are commenting on our message boards about this message that we're carrying around with us now, and they're just like, this is amazing, man. The world needs it. People need it. And that's a way for me to honor that lesson that my mom was trying to teach me as a young kid, right? Leave the world better than you found it. Like, try to make a positive impact. And, you know, for a while I thought, man, it's like, is it, you know, being in a rock and roll band and being posi-core, right? Positive as can be. Like, is that corny? And I'm like, no, it's not corny, man. Like, the whole other life is just death and destruction. I've watched the VH1 specials when all these guys just go down the rabbit hole into the darkness, and it's like, where does it lead? It just leads to more darkness. And it's, I can't go there, you know? And so I found a path, and, you know, I'm just partnering with you guys as part of that path and part of that story. And, you know, I want to continue this thing for years and years and years to come, because just in the little blip of the partnership with you guys, we've seen the messages come back to us of hope. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, that's what this is about. Like, you know, even if it's just touching one person, that's like for the win. You know what I'm saying? Because human life is to be fought for, man. We are worth it.
And I think it's not corny. It doesn't come across as corny because your fans, everyone knows, they've listened to your songs and they know how real the songs are. They know that you've explored that darkness too, and you felt it. And thank you for sharing your personal connection with that too. That, I know that takes a lot. And, you know, the fact that you can then, having addressed that in a very real way, in a very raw way, to then be able to say, hey, let's leave a light on, and, you know, you're not alone. And I think that's why it's so powerful for people. I know people have come up to you after your shows and said, that song, you know, what you said on stage saved my life, because they may be, and for everyone who says that to you, I'm sure that's, you know, exponentially, you can multiply that by people who haven't, like, then gone up to you and told you. But sometimes people just need to hear that they're not alone from someone they trust. Because, you know, I'll get a little wonky about suicide prevention for a second. Like, what I've learned from our head of research, my pal Dr. Jill, is that when you are in the midst of a suicidal crisis, it's not just that you're overwhelmed. It's that, for instance, you literally don't have access to your normal coping strategies. You literally can't see the forest for the trees, or however you want to articulate it. It's something going on in one's brain. It's very complex. And so you can't see that you're not alone. We all feel so alone because we don't talk about it as much as we should. And so Papa Roach and you putting out music that everyone knows based on years of your output is authentic, speaks volumes.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that, you know, to be of service through music and to leave a positive impact through music. Because, you know, I've seen the stories of, I guess, people just getting lost in the weeds out here in this world. And I've watched it firsthand. I've lost friends. I've lost family members. My grandfather took his life, you know, and that's heavy. That was hard. That was hard on the family. And sometimes you just want to sorry, not sometimes. We just want to speak to the people and let them know that there is help out there. There is hope. And that's what this is all about. That's what this movement, that's what this cause, that's and it's part of one of my purposes in my life, I feel, is to speak to the broken, because I've been broken. And there's parts of me that are still broken, Brett, straight up. Like this is a journey, right? Of recovery. And I feel that one of the turning points for me in my life was when I finally put the bottle down. I was like, and I went to rooms of recovery, and I realized like I was just covering my problems up with more problems. And it forced me to be honest with myself. And then it put me in a space that was safe, where there was other people that were working to, obviously be sober, but to be free from this darkness within. And I think that the beginnings of that inspired me to not only better myself and to continue to try to better myself, but then also to like walk it out with other men that are struggling with that same issue that I struggle with. And so I've experienced that myself, right? Opening up and letting the walls down and allowing help, because I was professional at just like, all right, I'm gonna build my walls and I'm gonna suffer in here on my own and I'm good. And I did that for years, and it's a painful place to be. And I've experienced the walls falling down and the lights coming back on, and having a lust for life, and like passion waking up in the morning, and like passion to get after it again. I've had that. And I won't lie, like it comes in ebbs and flows. I'd say like when I really start struggling again, it's when I start ruminating on the problems. I have to really mind myself. Rumination is one of my biggest issues with my mental health, right? It's like when I come off the road and I'm back home and it's not the busy life, and then I'm like, all right, now I've paused, I hit the brakes, and now I got time to like really take a look at my life again. And like I get in that busy mode and I just start shoving things down, and then it's like I come home and it's like it's time to work through these things again. And sometimes when I get stuck in that rumination of just like running the problem over and over in my mind, I start catastrophizing things, and I'm like, hold on, check, like, what did you learn about your mental health, man? Like this rumination thing, it's like you got to watch it. I'm talking to myself, right? It's like I think it's important to check myself through the tools that I've learned, and because rumination can be a bitch. I mean,
Oh my God, I know. I mean, I think of it as the thing I struggle with is like when I first wake up and I'm in bed and I'm not totally up yet, I totally just like my brain hits me with that same thing over and over again. And I have to just like peel myself out of bed. And once I do, it kind of tends to go away. I'm wondering if there's anything you've learned that you can share with people watching is there a trick or anything that seems to help?
I mean,
that's worked for you?
I got all kinds of tools that have been suggested to me through the years, right? Do I use them all? No, but I know what my tools are. And I mean, first it's like garbage in, garbage out. So I have to take a stock of like, what am I allowing into my mind? What type of media am I allowing into my mind? How much time am I spending on my devices? How much time am I spending reading people's comments? How much am I in that space? Because if I'm feeding my mind garbage, I'm gonna get garbage coming out. Also, what I put into my body physically, like what I eat. Sugar is just like, if I want to have a bad day, let me go binge sugar for like 3 or 4 days and then stop. And when I stop binging sugar, I'm like, sugar to me has been like on the inflammation of my brain and my spirit and my stomach, terrible. So when I'm like eating clean, and is another kind of like part of it's like this pizza pie effect, right? And so the food is part of it, the garbage that I'm putting in my mind through movies or media or television, social media. That's part of it. And then also the physical fitness part of it. It's proven, right? Serotonin and dopamine are stimulated and released when we go exercise physically. So whether it's a walk in the park, it's important. I got to get at least like 20 minutes, 30 minutes of sun on my face a day. Like I got to do something outside. That's mandatory for me. Working out it's another part of that puzzle. And when I start to put those things together and I'm watching, I'm being very mindful and not just being like a bag in the wind, right? I used to just allow myself to just be this bag in the wind of wherever things are pushing me, that's where I am. And we have more power than that. I've realized I have a lot more power over my decisions, and the things I do with my life that can add to the stuff that I put in the good. Does that always work for me? Is it always the solution? No, fellowship is another part of it. So I can't isolate, right? Isolating is where it's like a playground for all my negativity and all my anxiety and all my frustration and depression and all these things. It's like the breeding ground for it. And so I got to be mindful of that. If I'm not like calling people back and checking in with my people, that's when I isolate. I start to like negative rumination is going on, and it starts to stew into something bad if I'm not keeping these things in check. And when things are getting really bad, it's like therapy is another piece of the puzzle, right? When it's like I'm really in that struggling point, and just sometimes for me, I'm just talking about the things that I have in my power, right? To the tools that I have, and I got to just take a long, hard look in the mirror, because I wake up, like you said, where it's like the world feels overwhelming right off the bat. And I used to call it fear of impending doom, right? Fear of impending doom. And I'm like, Cobe, like it's your mind getting the best of you. It's like I was talking with my son, Brixton, my 10-year-old last night. He wanted to, I wanted to take out the trash. He's like, it's dark. I don't want to go out there. I'm like, okay, we're going to talk through this. He's like, dude, I'm scared of the clowns, Dad. And I'm like, okay. In my 47 years of life, I have never seen a clown out there. Never seen a clown in the dark. Like I've never been spooked by a clown in the dark. I've just taken the trash out and tossed it in the trash. And so we were talking about the idea of how our mind can play tricks on us, right? Our mind can put us in these like paralyzed states of fear. And so, yeah, he's still afraid of the dark, but it's like, it's just that little seed, right? And so I think when I'm, I guess, taking stock of my life and cutting out the things that are negatively impacting me, then I'm at base level, right? So then maybe I can cope with all these feelings that are overwhelming. And, I don't have the answer, but I got some tools that I've used through the years that have been a great part of my mental health. And, sometimes it's like, sometimes you're just struggling. And sometimes like, I realize like, sometimes I just got to learn how to just feel the feelings too. And go through those, and because you can't always just spray some tough on you. I can't always just spray some tough on you. But it's a delicate balance. I'll just say that, and but it's a battle that I'm willing to keep battling, because when I get to the good stuff, it's like it's worth it.
I love how you put that with I think people sometimes put pressure on themselves that like, oh, I need to fix myself or someone else needs to fix me. And it's not about, it would be great if you could just like be perfect.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're always going to have tough times and difficult thoughts. And it's just about having the tools to weather the storm and knowing that it's nothing to be ashamed about. I mean, we don't talk about mental health and feelings the way that we talk about physical health.
Yeah.
And so I think that's that's something that you guys are helping with by exploring all this stuff
Oh yeah, I mean,
through your music.
I feel like it's that next level of health, right? It's like through the last century, it's a lot of focus has been on our physical health and how to, fight cancer and, you know, heart surgeries and brain surgeries and all these, medical advancements in those spaces. And now we're going, all right, what's the next level of health? It's the mind, right? And how that is some uncharted territory, and we're all in this thing together, right? That's what's beautiful about what you guys are doing, because you guys are on the forefront of it, right? Because we know that the battle for mental health cannot be fought alone, period. It takes an army. It takes an army of people to get out there on the streets and let people know that it's okay to be able to not be okay. And then there are places where we can heal, and there are tools that we can utilize that can help us get through these days. And I'm a firm believer, man, and I'll say this, and I believe struggle strengthens. I really believe that in my life. Um, the things that the struggles that I've had and been through have given me the opportunity to like take stock in myself and see how I can battle these things, and not just on my own. It's like I got a crew of people that got my back, right? And so I think that story needs to be heard out there, and just it's that mission that I'm happy to be on.
Well, I mean, you talk about so beautifully about people shouldn't feel alone and all that. And by the way, I appreciate you sharing about your own loss early in life. I mean, I lost my mom. That's why I was inspired to work at AFSP. And I think a lot of what we call suicide loss survivors and people who care for someone who may be at risk, those people, that's also a lonely feeling. It's not just the person who is struggling. It's the people who are worried for them, or the people who have lost someone. There's support available if you've lost someone, by the way. And you can see below in the comments, we'll share about that. But that's very meaningful to me as well. And I guess, we're going to share the video you mentioned of your kind of speech before the song.
Oh yeah.
We're going to share that and the music video, which, because this is, I mean, it's such a powerful moment from your tour where, for people who don't know, you talked about the song a little bit before, and then for Leave a Light On, the lights go down in the stadium and thousands of people held up their phone lights, and the music video captures that so well. And I just wanted to quote some of the lyrics to you. Maybe it'll seem obvious, but I would love to hear in your own words what they mean for you. So I'm just going to quote a few lyrics. It's not like me to worry, but when I see you fading in the dark, I'll leave a light on for you. So how can you talk through a little bit of where that came from, and if there's anything you haven't said that you would sort of attach to that?
We're looking for the simplest way to delineate down a powerful message. Just the line, I'll leave a light on for you, right? It's like that line in itself says everything that we want to say, period, just in a line. And it's like, how do you dress that? Because whenever we're writing a song, it's like, I'm trying to, how do I make, what is the song about, right? That's when we're in the room when we're writing, and it's like, well, it's about being there for somebody. Well, how do you creatively say that, right? And it's like, well, I'll be there for you. I'm here for you. Like, I'll leave a light on for you. You hear that story, and it's like, oh, that sounds like it fits the feeling of the music, because the music is a little more, it's got a little bit of a darker, somber tone to it. And it just seemed to fit the moment and the message that we're trying to convey with this song. Especially in the process, at this point in time, I've lived a lot of life. I've had a lot of struggles of my own. I've had people I've lost people by suicide. How do we create something that's powerful and poignant and to the point and artful that speaks to people's hearts? And just that one lyric, right? I'll leave a light on for you, says it. I'll be here for you, and that's no matter what. And as my kids are moving on into this world, like I said earlier, it's like that was like the message I needed to send them out with, and maybe it's a little selfish as a father, but it's like I know that this music, it wasn't just about my kids, right? It's about like the listener. It's not only, it's like a song, really and truly, when we first write it, it's ours. It's the artist's song, right? But then when you release it, it's no longer ours. It's we're thinking about, as the listener is listening to this, what message is getting into their head, into their heart, into their ears. And I think we knocked it out the park with this one. Honestly, it's what I love about this song is, Papa Roach, we're known for like big banger rock tracks and in your face, and I'm talking about being vulnerable within those big banger rip and roaring rock tracks. Whereas this one, it just cuts to the heart of the matter and it's stripped down and raw. And the lyric is stripped down and raw. And it's talking about that struggle. And the message is clear and poignant. I'm here for you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And we're gonna press play on that monologue that you shared through your tour, and then the music video.
Oh,
so people can enjoy that.
Just one more little thing.
Oh yeah, please.
As we were discussing, as we were gonna play this song live, we were like talking about the idea of having a PSA come up on the screen, and the band, we were all kind of like, is that weird? In the middle of the show, there's this moment where the lights go down and then this thing comes up on the screen, message comes up on the screen. And we were, honestly, I was a little apprehensive. I was like, is it going to take away from the energy and the momentum of the show? Because I'm a showman, But what we found out was that it was the perfect thing to do in the show, because it just changes the energy in the room. It just went all the lights out, and it's me on a screen speaking this message to you. And we saw people were people were just glued in off the rip. And that, once we did the first couple shows, we're like, yeah, this really is like, it's the glue. It's this poignant message that we feel. It's like, yeah, we could have played an extra song, but guys, this ain't about ego. It's about what's the message? What are we trying to carry out there to the people? And so you'll play the message, here in a moment, but it was like a little bit, we're like kind of apprehensive. We're like, oh gosh, it's gonna be weird to the show. We're like, no, how does it serve the purpose? Like, let's serve the purpose and own the moment. And I think I'm really grateful that we did.
Well, we're really grateful that you did too. And I know it meant so much to people. And so let's take a look at it right now, and then we'll come back.
This issue doesn't affect one of us or a few of us. It affects all of us. If you've lost someone, know someone who's lost someone, or know someone who struggles, even if you yourself have struggled, the first step to finding a solution is to talk about it and to ask questions. Life is so meaningful, but when you're struggling mentally, it doesn't always feel that way. Depression, anxiety, addiction, trauma, and stress can make you feel alone and withdrawn. But you are not alone. It's important to know we are not our thoughts. Suicide research shows that when you're in a state of crisis and feeling the effects of life, your critical thinking is affected. Your mind doesn't have the access to normal coping mechanisms. I've fought my fair share of battles in my own mind and learned the truth in the saying, "This too shall pass." Our band has talked about mental health since the beginning of our career. It's been the topic of countless songs, and in being able to travel the world and see all of you There's no greater feeling than when somebody says, "Your music saved my life." This cause is extremely important to us, so we wanted to give back. Just by being here tonight, you're all part of this with us. We'll be making a donation to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in the name of tonight's show, so they can continue their mission to save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide. Their Talk Away the Dark campaign teaches you the warning signs for suicide and how to have a conversation that could save a life, whether it's someone else's or your own. If you got a light, take it out and hold it up high during this next song. And for anyone that's in the dark, I want you to always know you are not alone. We will always leave a light on for you.
Dry bones rattling a lonely soul, slipped and fell into a deep black hole. I can tell you're lost, I'm here for you. Wildfires burning you down to stone, blind eyes turning from a world so cold, a million miles apart within my reach. It's not like me to worry, but when I see you fading in the dark, I'll leave a light on for you. Through the long nights, I will be right there for you. If you drift too far, I'll leave a light on for you. Rain comes following an endless drought to wash away the remnants of all your doubt. I hope that you'll see me looking out. It's not like me to worry, but when I see you fading in the dark, I'll leave a light on for you. Through the long nights, I will be right there for you. If you drift too far, I'll leave a light on for you. Through the long nights, I will be right there for you. If you drift too far, I'll leave a light on for you.
Well, we're back. It's so great to watch that speech and the video itself. Um, And, both that song, Leave a Light On, and AFSP's Talk Away the Dark campaign encourage people to be there for each other, and noticing when someone we know may be struggling and knowing how to reach out and ask them directly what they're going through. It's so important that we all learn about that. And AFSP's Real Convo guides give people strategies for having those conversations. And people can check that out in the link that we'll share in the comments. But Jacoby, I want to hear from you. Do you have any kind of like down to earth advice you'd want to share about talking to the people you care about? Like, you've talked about how you've had those conversations with people, whether it's about your own thing, or if you're worried about someone, or just about everyday mental health, and making that sort of an ongoing thing that you get used to. Do you have any advice on what seems to work like, how do you start a conversation about
I
that?
mean, I just somehow I got this weird ability to like make people feel comfortable and just kind of let down the walls. And I think for me, I'm an open book, and it usually tends to happen in a way where I'm talking about my vulnerability and my struggle, the darker moments that I've been through, which will prompt whoever I'm speaking with maybe to feel a bit more comfortable about what's going on. How you doing? I think coffee is a great way to like. That's a good thing for me. I'm like, yo, let's go grab a coffee. Let's link up. Let's check in. Let's see how. And I think just that simple check in too, I think is important. I have a lot of people that check in on me, and I'll be honest, sometimes I'm an isolator, right? And I don't always reach back out, and I do. I'm calling myself out on that right now because I need to be better about that. But I think it's a simple conversation, man. It's just checking in on your friends, and I feel like I have a pretty good barometer on people's bullshit meter too. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
what's really going on? And I think sometimes that's a good thing, because if people have checked in on me that way, like, are you good, man? Like, you just seem off. My guitar player, Jerry, he's checked in on me a few times through the years, and just like, and even in times where I was just like, yeah, I'm kind of struggling, but I know what I got to do, dude. I know the tools I need to get back after. And like, I hear you, man. Thanks for checking in. So I've had that experience myself. But I don't think there's necessarily one way to go about that. I would say this though: be a good listener. Sometimes people don't want advice. Sometimes people just need an ear. And I feel that allowed the space, and I guess not judging them or having suggestions at every corner they turn, and just being an ear for somebody, and just being there and allowing somebody to. I mean, I've been there many times over where I've had friends just trauma dump, and I'm like, good, like, let it out, man, because I've trauma dumped on some friends. Really, I've had a few friends that have been in my life that I've been able to just go, all of it, and I think just being a good listener is first and foremost.
It's amazing how it seems so simple, but that helps. And it's like, it really is, to your point, sometimes you have to ask a few times, and you have to have your BS detector on. Like, when and it's just all about that specific person and your particular relationship and how you vibe with them, and just letting them know you're an okay person to talk to. And sometimes it's about sharing your own stuff a little bit first, and just getting them in, taking them aside maybe in a good moment, and keeping after it. So that's really helpful to hear, and I appreciate you sharing that. And Jacoby, I could talk with you. I could sit here with you all day. I know you have music to make and a million other things.
We're in creative mode, man. I've been going back and forth from back home now in Sacramento, but I was in Iowa out there visiting my oldest son, and going back and forth to LA and Iowa over the last like 6 weeks. And so we got a bunch of new music we're working on, and we're getting creative, and it's an exciting time, man. It's exciting time to be in doing, making music and being creative, and I couldn't imagine my life without it.
Well, yeah, I feel like it's been the soundtrack of much of my life, in the background. Again, like you guys are one of those bands. What's that?
I said even Brett listens to Papa Roach.
Come on, man. Of course I do. I mean, I've got 2 ears and a heart, don't I?
Right.
Jacoby, I just want to thank you so much for being here with me today. And I want to thank the rest of the band and your whole team, Ian, Lewis, Nick, Bryson, Libby. I could go on, everybody behind the scenes.
Yeah, honestly.
And
our team is awesome. We do have a shout out to the P Roach team. You guys have been great, and it's been awesome collaborating with you guys. And I really look forward to where, how you guys evolve this and how we stay part of this. And like you said earlier in the interview, it's like we're donating from this song in perpetuity. And for people that don't know what that word means, it means forever. It's like it's a great thing, and I just want to keep pushing the rock up the hill with y'all and sending a message of hope and letting people know, there's help out here and we got your back. It's a beautiful thing y'all are doing, man. I love being part of it.
Well, thank you for helping to amplify it and give it more dimension through your music and your words. I also want to thank everyone for watching today. And so I'm just going to plug the song again, Leave a Light On, Talk Away the Dark, and Papa Roach's album, Ego Trip. Oh, and can I just share this one other cool thing? I know there are certain details I can't share, but you guys taped an episode of Celebrity Family Feud that's going to be airing sometime this summer on ABC Primetime.
Yep.
And you went up against Daughtry.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's the first time this has ever happened on Celebrity Family Feud, but both competing teams have donated their winnings to the same organization, which is, in this case, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That goes, as you know, Jacoby, it goes to research so we understand better how to save more lives. It goes to advocacy. It goes to support for people who've lost someone. It goes to education. It goes to a million different things. We're always, have the perfect ranking on Charity Navigator and all that kind of stuff.
I looked that stuff up too, dude. I was like, all right, what's up? Because it's like sometimes these can be shady, dude, but you guys are the creme de la creme, man.
Thank you so much.
Doing, man.
Thank you so much. And I'll just say, if anyone's inspired to donate to AFSP, they can find the link in the comments. What more can I say? Thank you so much, you and the whole band.